you sort of see just how insanely bad medical software is. And I'm talking, you have to wait for like 20 seconds to 30 seconds for a list of 30 people to load. You have to wait for 5 seconds when you double click on one of them for the thing to load. Let me tell you this, Direct3D is one of the nicest APIs to use ever. Like, it's a complicated object-oriented API, but it does not impose any architecture on you, so it just exposes to you a few just pointers that you use, and then you call methods in those pointers, and that's it. That's the level of depth you have to it. And it has one of the best, I think not one of them, it's the best I've seen, error reporting, like debug layer. If you're making a software that you know is going to work on an X number of machines, just chip the binaries. Don't give me a laundry list of things I have to do, a dance that I need to do.
Tell everyone, who are you?
Chronologically or alphabetically?
Let's start with the name and your background, and then we're gonna delve into your, I think, medical background first.
Sure. My name is Wassim. I was born in Syria, and I've spent my childhood over there in the city of Aleppo, and right around the age of 18, after I've done my high school, for many reasons I've wanted to go out and study abroad. And from that early age, I had like a couple of different interests, but as I moved to Germany, I was looking into what do I do in the next stage. I was considering a few different options after learning German, among which were math, physics. Those are topics I always loved, and medicine was also something I absolutely loved. Like, I liked biology, biochemistry, and stuff like that. So I applied to many things, and down the line, I think the first acceptance letter I got was from Berlin for the Charité, and I thought, okay, got the first one, just pragmatically jump there, let's go. And I moved to Berlin, started studying medicine, and then halfway through I discovered programming, and that was the surprising part in all of this. Yeah.
You liked both, like biological stuff, biology, and like mathematics and physics, because like one is kind of like logical, and the other one relies on your memory. At least this is my split.
Well, that's true, but what I liked about biology is the systems part of it. Like, I liked the systematic understanding that this human body is one coherent machine, or like a conglomerate of different machines that serve a purpose to keep the entity alive. And it's always fascinating how those little machines work, because like the kidney is a machine, the liver is a machine, and then getting into those details, understanding how each of them works, it's actually very fascinating, even in the algorithmic side of things. Like, how does it physically, it's physically programmed to do things, and that's very thrilling. It's a lot like those other topics. So it's yes, you have to memorize a lot about what exactly those physical landmarks are, what their names are, and where they physically relate to each other, and so on. But in the end, it's not like just random. There's systematic things behind them, and that's the fun part, in my opinion.
Okay. So you liked both, like biology, chemistry, but also mathematics. I'm assuming like for the exams you took like whole range of exams.
Yeah, definitely.
Both.
I mean, that's generally for high school. That's true. But those are the things that I absolutely enjoyed. Like, I loved math specifically as a teenager, and I loved biology, chemistry. I mean, those. But anything like history and all the other literature topics, I've loved them too. But it's not like as much of a passion, if that makes sense.
If you would like to support this channel, you can become a member on Patreon. You will be granted access to a private Discord channel where you can chat with other supporters and guests of this show. For more details, check out my website at wooka.sh. Wookash. Okay. So you're studying medicine, which is known to be like, how do I say this? A lot of hours you need to put in.
Yeah.
And then you discover programming. How this happens?
This is a
how
very
do you have time?
Story. I mean, you have. I can't answer the time question. I found time. I don't know how. But it's the interesting part is how I got into medicine, because I'll give a shout out to my friend Saeed, who was at the time living also in Berlin. I've known him at 4th grade. Like when I was 4th grade back in Aleppo, we were going to the same school. We'd hang out. We were friends for that period. Then for a reason or another, he left. Family moved, and then they left the country entirely. We lost contact. That's it. But I don't remember exactly how it happened. But during that time, we got back in touch. Like, hey, what are you doing? What are you up to in life? And like, hey, I'm studying in Berlin. Like, me too. Let's meet. And then we met, and then we hit it off. And but of course, like you don't know if you're gonna hit it off with somebody if you've known him since 4th grade and now you're 18. You're an entirely different person. But we truly did hit it off. We had a lot of fun hanging out. And he was studying computer science, and I was studying medicine. We'd hang out in my little room where I lived. Play games, talk about games, and then one thing led to another when I'm just saying, hey, can you just show me or tell me how do people make games? Because I love games. And after nagging him enough times and bullying him enough times, he said, okay, let me show you. And he first started by, and I'm glad he didn't continue that way, he started by like, you can just try things like Unreal Engine or Unity, because that's how you make games. Everybody makes games that way. I'm like, okay. And then he said, but it's you're really using a tool. You have to learn the tool. You're not learning the craft of what makes games and whatnot. And I'm not sure if he was trying to make it sound complicated or if he was trying to push me. I believe he was trying to push me in a direction, and I followed through. And I told him, yeah, okay, but how does one do it correctly? He said, okay, the easiest way, simplest way is just like write something in C. That's how you put like a sprite on the screen.
Easiest way.
It's the easiest.
Definitely.
And
the
I
easiest way.
believe that. So he sent me a link to something called Intro into C. He told me like, listen to this guy. And that was Casey Murtori's first episodes of the Hamed Hero. And that was it. Like I was just following what he was saying because I had no idea what programming even is. He's telling me there is C. In my brain, that's all that exists. It's C. He's telling me there's a compiler. You need to use Visual Studio. You're writing CL in a batch file. That's how you do it. That's how everybody does it. I only discovered later the other insanities. So I started there. Spent some time. I think at the beginning we started with using SDL2 as a library to just get things up and running. To not just spend too much time fighting the OS, not too much time rendering. So. But it was still low level. It was pretty low level. So like we're writing the game loop int main and whatnot, initializing a few things, loading a few things. And then I made like a little, that was like the first game I made after like weeks when I was, at that time I had no idea that structs were a thing, by the way. Like I was just inlining everything. Like my function was like 3 lines long. And I would send him a message to tell him, like, this can't be the best way to do this. How do people do this if I have, like, maybe 50 variables? It's like, let me show you this thing called structs, by the way. And then I use the structs. And then later I asked him, well, I don't know. I'm passing this variable, but it's not updating, even though I'm updating it. And then, like, it's in the watch window, and then it becomes garbage when I leave the function. It's like, all right, let me tell you about pointers. And then I spent a month fighting with the concept of pointers until I understood what a pointer is, because that was very difficult at the beginning, because like you don't understand what like the star sign and the ampersand sign even mean, and it's gibberish. But then when it clicks, it clicks. So the first thing I made was like a horizontally scrolling thing with a sprite, and I drew those sprites of like because I had fun like also animating the sprites to have like a guy running and walking horizontally, and then you press F to pay respects, and then just he farts, so it renders a fart cloud, and that's the whole game. It's like, and that's it. And that was so much fun. That was so much fun doing that. And
What, can you tell me what happens with your medical studies in between? You said like
I'm still going to
you
school.
needed a month to figure out pointers. Like
I'm still
what
going
the
to school.
hell?
Like here's what it looks like. So I go to school, university. That's like maybe 3 or 4 days where you have to be there because there is some lectures and whatnot. And then when I go back home, I program, and then on the weekend I go to work because like I had to also work while doing this because I was financing myself doing so. So it's mostly that. So there wasn't much of a social life.
I can tell.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you've heard of that thing. But mostly my social life was like hanging out with people like Said, where he's like visiting, and then we program together, and that was like the highlight. So if we'd have a time where we just like, hey, we can hang out this weekend, I'd be like, yeah, this is great. We're gonna program something and discover something, and often it would be like times where we'd hang out like in front of the computer for like 8 hours and then code something entirely new, like write a ray tracer, write Elixir, write something that sets up like a neural network, try shit. And that was always fun back then. And you find the time, I guess. It's just, this is what your free time. Don't spend so much time doing anything else.
You watched Intro to C.
Yes.
This is like 6 episodes.
Yes, 5 or 6, yeah.
And then you started to dabble in C pretty much.
That's it. Yeah, I started with that. Although I must admit, starting with Handmade Heroes' first episodes, they were pretty tricky for me because Casey got into setting things up for Windows, and that was a little bit too complicated for a complete beginner in C. So I ended up like not following too much well at the beginning. So I had to like rely more on SDL2, and then I found things up there. And I found like somebody else's series on YouTube. Like I had no idea what Handmade Heroes or Hero or those principles even were. And I was like watching and how he does it. Followed him for like 3 or 5 episodes, and then he's like, "So the game needs an entity component system. So let me do something." And then he types 17 virtual functions. And I sent Said a message like, "What is he doing? I was following very well, and now I don't follow." And they're like, "No, stop, stop all you're doing. Emergency session. We need to talk about this. Immediately stop." So I like being swayed back on the right track, but it's procedurally. So you just make the mistakes. You write something stupid, and then you do it again.
The idea of picking up C.
Yeah.
And then like every week or so doing a new project from scratch sounds like much better training than any university, honestly, from like computer science degree.
I didn't go to university, but this is what I keep hearing.
This is wild. If you manage to, and also had like a mentor, by the name of Said, to actually like guide you through and like tell you, okay, ECS, back out, okay, stop, and just lead you. This is awesome. This sounds great.
This is like the purest form of education, in my opinion. Like you learn the thing yourself, and you have somebody to guide you through it.
Nice. So this is like after 2 years of studying the medical stuff, and then
3, I think, or so. I think it was 2020. So whenever that was, I started 2017. So that's 3 years. Yeah, 3 years after studying medical school.
You started 2017.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2020, COVID hits. Something changes in the schedule.
It actually helped, to be honest. That's true. It's because we had so much from home, so many, you don't have to go anywhere. It made a lot of things more complicated. It made a lot of things easier as well. So you'd spend so much time home that you don't lose time commuting or whatnot. For somebody who enjoys sitting behind a desk, that's like a gift. But for somebody who likes to have a social life, a healthy person, they would they would not like it.
So you programmed double the amount of time.
I think so. Like you just fill your time. That's it.
Okay. Okay. This is wild. Okay. And then you at some point follow through the medical studies, right?
Yeah, it was going like parallel. I did not stop it because you've spent so much time. Like even if you discover it's not a hobby, it's a passion. Like it's something that you could be able to work doing. And it's like, yeah, I already wasted a bachelor degree's equivalent of time. I mean, not wasted. Waste is a bad word to use, but like I've spent so much time doing this. I gotta push through, especially since I also like the other thing. But this is better. But I still need to do the other thing to finish it. Like you don't want to drop out of school and you have nothing. So I had to go through this. Also for visa reasons as well. Like it was not very easy to just say like, fuck it, I'm going to take a break. So I was doing both of them in parallel. But I from the beginning, it was always a hobby. I just like something hobby on the side. Yeah.
At some point, you started to work on a game, AV Racer, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Why?
It's just the next serious thing to do. That was like every time you make a little game, you're like, okay, this is shit. Let's make the better one. Oh, it's better, and actually, no, it's shit. Let's take the better one. And this is the best thing ever. It's shit. Let's do the better one. So like that's you get to AV Racer. I mean, I like car games in general. I enjoy car games, and I'm only realizing now, thinking about it. I think when I was a kid, I would just buy every single car game I could find and could play on the device that I had. I had just PCs. I didn't have consoles back as a kid, so I would just grab the thing from the store, and so just like the idea, and I would spend so much time in games like Trackmania, building tracks. I spent time on Assetto Corsa, figuring out ways and tools because there are also tools for people to make custom tracks, and I love the idea of. I love both the concept of driving cars and the concept of like how are those tracks designed to come up with something that is competitive and what makes a fun thing to drive and so on. So it was like making a car was a rite of passage. I had to make a car in a game like that. That had to happen because like now I have the tools to do so. I have a renderer. I recently learned that OpenGL was a thing, and I want to test out this new thing I found out. Actually. Before AV Racer, there is a biology-based game that I just never released.
Oh,
and that was
what was it about?
It's called Astrobion, and it's just about simulating a culture of cells. So, like, you have a bunch of cells living in a medium, and based on concentrations of things, of like salts and proteins and stuff that I choose are there. There are things that take input and output from the cell and then simulate the pH levels of the cell and then certain concentrations of like glucose and NaCl and all those like different basic things. And then you have a gameplay of like, let's create pharmaceuticals that have certain properties, chemical properties, that those cells can consume, and then we can steer things in one way or another, either to make the cells live more or kill them or whatever. So the idea was like to make that game. Back then I did not have the technical prowess to get it done right. Spent so much time on the basic stuff, but it was okay. But I got at one point I was like using SDL, like that's how I discovered OpenGL, is like doing SDLs, render something, and it would just like, after I asked it to render 1,000 things that have FPS drops to like 20, and I'm like, why is that happening? Like Said comes in and is like, let me tell you the concept of render draw calls. I'm like, oh, so there's this thing I need to like, okay, now maybe at this time I'd be able to set up OpenGL. I'm glad I moved away from it. I'll tell you about this later.
So was more like a simulation kind of game?
It was more of like a simulation puzzle kind of thing. Like I tried to put the things that I liked about studying medicine, which is the biology aspect, the core biochemistry, and I enjoyed those topics, to put them in a game because I thought that's a fun thing to do. But I just phased out of playing it because like I think the last thing I did was also come up with something to to describe the cells through a DNA sequence, like to encode and decode DNA, kind of like fake DNA, and that was also fun. But then I stopped because I started the car game. Because it always starts with me sitting next to Saeed in the room thinking like, let's see what it takes to make this for one day. Then he goes home, and then I keep working on it for the next few months. It's like... But this one was... Yeah, sorry.
What is Saeed doing during this time?
You mean back then, during that time?
Back then.
Yeah, he was studying computer science. He was doing his degree. So I don't know, I think he was second or third year, or maybe fourth. We synchronized around the same, because we're the same age. We synchronized around that time. And he was working also part-time at a company, at a local startup. That's it. But he was studying, basically. We would just meet up in our free time.
Okay. So you stopped working on the biology game, or actually you just started working on another game?
I started working on the other game.
And you played only car games before, or you played?
No, I played everything. I played anything that looks cool. But I think I enjoyed car games.
What do you play?
I liked RPG. I mostly, because here's the thing. This was Syria. That's a fun fact about Syria. There still isn't any infrastructure for purchasing. Like, there is no Steam in Syria. There is no GOG. There is no legal place where you can buy games in Syria, because since forever Syria was boycotted for political reasons. So we still had games. We still were able to have the hardware. So we had professional companies, like professional multi-hundred people companies, but their whole job is to get pirated versions of those games off the internet, burn them onto DVDs with proper installation, like where they do all the proper due diligence, clean up for all the viruses, do it like installation instructions plus a verified crack file that you have to copy at the end, put them all on a DVD, package them nicely, like print out the posters, make their own posters on top, translate it into Arabic, put it in the thing, and then you sell that DVD in a store. So you go, and the price of the game correlates with the price of the CD, with how many DVDs there are. So it's not like the value of the game. So if your game takes 4 DVDs, it's more expensive than a game that takes 1 DVD, regardless of how those games are sold elsewhere. So that's how it worked.
So basically, any single DVD game is expected to have the same price as well?
Yeah, that's basically how it works. It's insane, because now you're thinking in terms of how much gigabytes this game is, and not like whether it's worth the money or not. Like, that's it. It's just a big game. So when like later down the years, when games started to get bigger and bigger, people were really pissed, because now games are really expensive now. That's the reason.
Did it change over time?
I mean, I have not been there for over a decade for now. Like, so I don't know, but I don't think it should. I don't think it would, because like there are still no online stores in Syria. So why would it?
Wild.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. You played RPGs, you mentioned?
Yeah, I played mostly single player games, because all the multiplayer games would be LANs. So either you have a LAN party where people have that set up, or you go to a place where they have those set up and you rent the PCs to play. So I mostly played single player games. I remember spending a lot of time playing through all the Assassin's Creed series back then. I remember playing Skyrim when it came out, Oblivion. Those were really fun games back then. And just like odd games here and there, but like one of the major series that I've definitely like influenced my childhood was Need for Speed. I would get those, especially the period from Underground to Undercover. During those years, I think I played every one of those, and I really enjoyed every one of those. Spent so much time on them. So it was like, I want to know how people do this, and I want to make it happen as well. Which was like, yeah, let's make a car game, you know?
Nice. So this is how you start working on AV Racer, your car game.
Yeah, AV Racer was like the next milestone, because at that point I was like, okay, I want to put something on Steam, because that's the level you want to get at to believe that you've accomplished something. It needs to be complete enough. It needs to have a beginning and an end. It's not like a tech demo. This is a complete game. And at that time was like, how hard can it fucking be to make a car game? I mean, like, you at this point, you know, like the Dunning-Kruger thing, and you're like, at this point, I can put anything on the screen, and this is like a top-down thing that rotates. Who gives a shit? Like, this is easy. Come on. And it was like a series of surprises doing so, because it was not any of that, and it was a very complicated thing to get to feel right.
Complicated thing to get the feel right of steering a vehicle from the top-down camera.
Yeah,
2D
that's
game,
true.
top-down camera, and then you need to steer the vehicle, but also have it behave like a vehicle, not like a 2D sprite that you rotate and move forward.
Because it was like, it was a lot of setup to get something to rotate based on inputs in the right way, and then you have something that behaves like a sliding spacecraft. Like, okay, how do I get from here? Because it's doing what I want. Like, it's going forward when I'm pressing forward. It's also steering in the right angle based on speeding and whatnot. It's rotating around its own axis, and it's not feeling right. And that was the hardest nut to crack. And we had like we hit a roadblock where, as I was doing this with Saeed, sort of, he was like helping me to go through these things. I was mainly working on it. He would assist me with doing so. And he would be the one answering like the big physics questions. And we were at a crossroads where, like, I'm looking at the complexity of making a proper tire model. And I tried it, and I just did not do the math right. So it did not work. So at that point, I thought, okay, I will just try to keep faking it, just rotating the sprite. And that was like the biggest risk, because in the end, you don't know if you're going to be able to fake it right, and there is no blueprint to build things on. You just have to figure it out. That was fun.
It was fun.
It was fun, yeah, because it's just like so much frustration, and then suddenly it works. I think it was that time I had a working model that I sent to Casey, and he played it. He was kind enough to like give me 20 minutes at the beginning of one of his streams, just telling me feedback about it, and I was like writing things down as he was saying, and then went back to the drawing board, because it was, like I said, it was just like a sliding on ice. It was not moving correctly, because in the end I'm still rotating the sprite itself, and cars don't rotate around their own axis; they rotate around the steering axis, which I did not bother to do. So it was a shit ton of hacks. Excuse my French. Just one hack after the other. The funniest hack was coming up with a value called slidiness, and then a slidiness accumulator. So like, you have a slidiness, and then the change of slidiness, and then that adds up to an accumulator. And if you had so much slidiness over time, then you change the behavior of the car. Because like, this is how I thought about it. Because like, maybe you're like steering too hard, so the car should not immediately start to lose grip. It should only start to lose grip if you're steering too hard and accelerating too hard. And maybe if you hit like a grass patch that is not on the ground. It's like all of those things, I add them up to a sliding accumulator to influence to come up with a slidiness variable. And then I add that change of the sliding variable over time, because those things don't kick in immediately. And then you have a sliding accumulator. And once you hit a certain threshold, the car begins to slide. And that felt good. It's like, okay, this is a solution. Just ship it. and that's the current one that's in the game. So that's there's that. I don't know if I should be proud of it, or I should just burn it. So it's
How would you do it now if you were to start over?
I would, for a 2D game, that's a difficult question, to be honest, because like you still have, because making all 4 tires, this is a good question. Because here's the thing, for a 3D game, it's easy. You have to just do, and it's not, the 3D game itself is not easy, but like the question to answer it is easy. You have to do each tire on its own. You have to implement the proper tire model. But for a 2D game, there is no Z space that the car is rotating in. Like there is no, it's only rotating like this. There is no like weight distribution kind of thing. So you have to either do that and not render it, which is like, I guess you can do it, but it's a level of complexity that you can't even see.
Yeah.
Or you have to just fake it the same way I did, but maybe come up with even more hacks. I don't know how they did it. Because when you look at games from back then, they did not have something complex. It was just like rotate around its own axis and then turn around. I tried to make it feel nice, if that makes sense.
Okay. How did the game do in Steam?
It did surprisingly much better than I expected. When I expected like maybe a handful of sales of all just the friends that I bully into buying it. That's it. It's like friends and family. It's like the number that is on Steam sales reflects the amount of people I know. That's the thing I expected. But no, actually, it had I think 500 or so sales. It's copies it sold, so it was pretty nice. So I was like,
Nice.
Made a good buck on that thing, and okay. It did not. It's the price of like a cup of coffee, but still, whatever that came out of it was a huge thing to me. And I also did not put any effort into marketing it further than my immediate circle. So I didn't do anything more than that.
Ooh, so how much time did you spend on the development itself?
I think we started January, and then it was done. It was released May, so like 5 months. That was the period. I did not do it all of it on my own. Side helped me with it, especially the physics collision part. He wrote the collision detection and the collision resolving of that code. That was also a very fun thing to figure out. But he's the one that he cracked it in the end. We were looking at it together, but he cracked it and he implemented something for that. 5 months.
Nice, like old games.
Yeah.
Not like today games.
70 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, AV Racer then. Do you have credits with like Said mentioned as a contributor?
Said is the main guy.
But do you have a credits in game?
There is. Yes, you can
Okay.
actually see it there.
Nice.
There are credits, but it's not like credits and then like chief executive officer Wassim, CTO Wassim, graphics designer Wassim, and then like
Why not?
So like, no, it's not like that. It's just like these are the two programmers that worked on this, and then a few thank you to the people who were supportive of the thing. So that's
Okay. What happened after AV Racer? Was it like second day, like another week, another project, just like immediately after?
I think after AV Racer, it was. When did I release it? I think I released it in 2022.
Yes.
And 2022 to 2023, I think it was just a bunch of little things, because after that, I really wanted to get into doing a 3D thing. I really wanted to get into 3D. And I think I did with Said a few little things that explored 3D as a concept of like setting up the renderer and whatnot. But it did not click for me that well back then, because that was like a little bit too many things at the same time. So I started something, did not finish it, started something, did not finish it, stuff like that. Also in the meantime, I discovered, I think Cactus was the thing that I did afterwards. The image viewer. That makes sense. Now I remember. Because I'm drawing a blank. When did I do things? After that, one of the problems that faced me doing games so far in general was, you do a sprite, pixel art sprite, and then you save that. It's a tiny image that is like maybe 32 by 32 pixels. You open it in whatever photo viewer, and it's like a blur. It's a blotch. And then you start looking like, okay, there must be a way for you to just flip the switch to make the filtering between nearest neighbor and linear, just switch between them. Most viewers don't have it. And otherwise you'd have to go into deep within the settings and like, so I thought like, okay, what does it take? Because I already use I already am loading images and rendering them in a game. So why can't I just load images and render them in its own application by that point? So then when I started with like, I already have a SDL thing set up. I already have OpenGL set up. I already have a shader. I was using SDB images to load the thing. And okay, let me look for a library that just can read through a folder and open a file. And that's where how it started. Then I would do the UI in DRI and GUI. That's how it started. And turns out it's not like that much of a complicated problem to solve, unfortunately. Like it's just
Unfortunately.
you create one texture on the go and then you put the texture on the screen and that's it. You got an image viewer, and all I needed to do was just like hit one button, the F button, for filtering, not to pay respects, but you hit the F button for filtering and it switches between those two, and that's all I needed. But as I usually do when I start something, like I love the idea of just keep pushing through the same thing and then do more iterations of it. And it just grew because I think during that time I was also getting feedback, or not feedback, bug reports from AV Racer from players. And unfortunately, you get something like, I launched the game and it's a black screen. And like, you cannot, where do I even begin doing that? I have no idea. Like, where, for I like, oh shit, I need to have better error reporting in my game. Like, I need to have log files and whatnot. So I made something. I don't remember exactly, but I think I made like an update just to do the logs. And then I asked the guy can you just send me the log file now? And he sent me the log and everything. The log said like initialized successfully. Like, and I was just checking, GL errors and checking those things, and I think they were fine. I don't know what was going on. It was render. So what we did in the end is I taught him how to use RenderDoc, so that he would run the game through RenderDoc and then record something and then send it back to me. And I would record the same thing and I would open 2 instances of RenderDoc and then compare each value. What happened? It was the issue. It's a driver issue, because his thing is AMD and it's an OpenGL driver. Same thing happened with an integrated graphics. I mean, in the end, I started to chase down those problems and then try to narrow down the issue, but I can't replicate it because I have an NVIDIA card, and apparently those write better drivers for. And then I went on the Hemi network and I was like asking, this can't be real. How do people do this usually? And then Martins comes in and says, people usually use Direct3D 11 or Direct3D in general. Like, okay, so let me see how to do that. And that's where I migrated to Direct3D. And let me tell you this, Direct3D is one of the nicest APIs to use ever. Like, it's a complicated object-oriented API, but it does not reflect that to you. So like, internally it uses a lot of C++ stuff, but it does not impose any architecture on you. So it just exposes to you a few just pointers that you use, and then you call methods in those pointers, and that's it. That's the level of depth you have to it. And it has one of the best, I think not one of them, it's the best I've seen, error reporting, like debug layer. You enable the debug layer in Direct3D 11, and it's just like a cakewalk. It describes exactly, to like multi-line detail, what thing you did wrong so that you can fix it. It makes your life easier. It's explicit. It's not like state-based, because it's a state machine, the OpenGL API. It's a state machine. So a lot of things are implicitly there, even though you don't see them. I mean, this is not entirely true, because also Direct3D 11 is a state machine in a sense. When you're doing the calls, you're also binding and whatnot. But it's like more, you're telling it exactly what to do with everything, and it's not like just this random thing that's going on. So to every step there is a struct, an object, whatever that you care about, that you need to create correctly. So like there is a textures, of course, are their own object, but there is a texture, there's a render view, there is there's a pointer for you to initialize if you want this to be used as a resource. There's a pointer you initialize if you want it to be used as to be used as a render target. You have a pointer for if it has like depth or stencil and stuff. So like each one of those has its own thing. So it's easier to understand and easier to work with. And ever since I moved to it, no more bugs. Like if it runs on my machine, it runs on your machine. So it was just made it so much easier because that's, yeah, like for now, since that point, I was using Direct3D 11 for everything. I abandoned OpenGL. Sorry, should I keep going with the...
This was a very interesting tangent. That you found, usually OpenGL is being hailed as this, hey, here's like a best, simplest way to learn 3D. And if you're finding Direct3D 11 to be better in this regard, it's quite interesting that, like, you know,
it's
every tutorial would guide you to OpenGL.
That's the sad part, and I think that's like exacerbating the problem, because if you're going to go into Direct3D 11, there aren't that many resources that really teach you the ABC of a Direct3D. That rhymed. So usually, like the best websites where they teach you render techniques are always in OpenGL. Although even then, when I try to implement like rendering techniques, I would just do whatever is done in OpenGL in Direct3D, and it maps 1-to-1 mostly. So I think it's hailed because I guess it works on Linux, and a lot of people are already working on Linux when they're coding for their company or for their projects, and a lot of developers are using Linux. But I mean, honestly, that's not a selling point if you're making a game. Like, who, you know? I mean, I don't know if that's...
It's cross-platform.
It's cross-platform, but like, it doesn't work, so why do I... Yeah, it's...
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cactus image viewer.
Yeah.
You at some point made this into an application, and then probably there was a point in time where you needed to decide, like, are you committing more effort to it and doing more features, and you're trying to make this into like a standing, like a product that you can have somewhere out there, or not?
I don't remember exactly what kicked it off. At some point, it became an open source project. I think it was because at that point I had a good implementation of a UI library. I think so. Because I think it became an open source, if I recall correctly, during that time. Because it was also like a nice testing ground, if that makes sense. Like you had a product that works. So every time you do something, you learn something new, you do it on that product. And that's a nice way to make sure whatever you're learning scales well. So learning a new renderer, I did that on Cactus. Implementing the first UI library, I did that on Cactus, and so on. It coincided, I think, with what I was doing at work when I was working at ANDS, but we'll get to that. So, I think at some point I made the decision to make it open source, and I don't regret it because I think so many more people are using it now because of that. Because it's accessible, just download it, and there's a binary already for you. Which is another thing, I have a rant about this. Because if you're making a software that you know is going to work on an X number of machines, just ship the binaries. Don't give me a laundry list of things I have to do, a dance that I need to do, just in order to compile your thing. I don't need to download 17 different things. No, please, just ship the binary. Whatever you're able to compile and that does not cost you so much, because it's already there. It's already sitting on your computer. It's the thing that you just launched when you're hitting enter. Just copy that thing over. That's all I ask. Please. Dear open source community.
You know this, there was this rant on Reddit, I think. Like somebody posted a picture of GitHub and saying like, I don't care about the F code, just give me the binary.
Yes.
Is this type of rant? It's like,
it's somewhat, but I mean, like, I don't agree with his tone. Definitely, like, somebody is putting something open source online. I'm thankful that it exists. Definitely, I am. Thank you for making whatever you're making. But it's also like, how much more effort does it take you to just ship the binary? I mean, come on. So like, there's that discrepancy, I guess.
There are wild projects that are heavily cross-platform.
That's true.
And then you need to do like the building stuff takes forever for every like platform, every kind of thing. But then, I can imagine that if it's a successful project, much more building time will be wasted for everybody else building the same setup over and over and over again. But Yeah.
Also, I mean, like you alienate the casual user who's coming in, who's not even sure that he needs your thing. If it's going to be too much work for him to use it and he's already not completely sold on your thing, is going to move on. I mean, I can understand if this thing is supposed to be like custom made, compiled for every platform, I get it. But if it's like a one thing that just for like maybe Windows and Linux, and just send it to, man, you know?
Yeah, this definitely is a barrier of entry.
Mm.
All right, Cactus Image Viewer grew to a serious project.
Yeah.
What features did you put into that?
Okay, features. So it started with just loading one file. I was loading only just STB, and then at some point I realized that I'm limited to whatever STB is able to load, and STB was not designed for loading a lot of things. So it was like good for the common stuff like JPG, PNG, and I think GIFs as well. And there's like 4 or 5 different things that it can do. Does well, but that's it. So at some point, I was recommended to use the Windows image component, which I just discovered right like a while after I've made Cactus. Apparently, like there is this great library that Windows ships that's just like whatever Windows can open, you can open now. So when I just put that in, immediately like I can basically open everything. So anything that Windows Photos can do, plus you get the perk of whatever thing you install over the store also works on Cactus. The other disadvantage is that you're getting more and more, like I was starting to get more and more specialized in Windows because A, DirectX, and B, now I'm using the WIC, and it's like, okay, fuck it, it's just a Windows project at this point. But I went in on the other end of things. I moved away at some point from SDL because I just wrote my own Windows platform code so that it becomes like a single binary. It has the ability to multi-thread load everything in a folder. Like it spawns a bunch of threads and loads them all. At least like it reads the files and whatnot. So when you're like clicking next, it's able to keep things running and not like freeze the frame or whatever. It has the ability to load GIFs, and also something that I've always wanted to have to do in GIFs is just like pause and play and then jump back and jump forward. That's something that so many don't do, and it's a video. Just give me a video player. That makes sense. So I have that, and what was it like? I think there's like let me actually have to bring up my website to actually read it because it's such a long list. Yeah, recently there's
right?
It's editing. Yeah, I added editing later. That's the nicest thing about like the funnest part about this is that all of the things that was happening in when I'm rendering something, like it started like I iterated to it, but it became such a cool thing because everything was running in a shader. So like the shader is deciding to render the background, and then if it's not the background, it renders the image. And then you pass it uniforms, or later would be constants to move around the image. But then I thought like, okay, I could also crop on the shader. I could also rotate on the shader. I could also do hue, saturation, gamma, contrast, brightness on the shader. I could also do Gaussian blur on the shader. And that's what I did. And it was quite fun because like you could just throw shit at it and then add more things, just one shader.
How big is the shader now?
Let me check. Let me check.
We can be approximate if you.
A few hundreds. I don't think it's like a thousand lines of code.
Oh.
To be honest,
I would expect like a couple of thousand because now I need to handle this case and then this case and then this case and then this case.
You do, but it's like shaders.hlsl is okay. There it is, 376 lines of code.
Okay,
it's not much.
Not much, but honest work.
Yeah, and then I implemented, I guess, the UI for it, and then it has like multiple themes, and then you have customizable choices where like I want it to launch in a certain way, to crop, to fill the screen, whatever.
You moved away from the IM GUI
yeah.
to do your own UI layer.
Yeah.
Why?
It was mostly because I was simultaneously learning something for work, and it was a nice way to do it, because the RIM GUI is great, but it's still not it's not meant for production. So like it's great for using as a debug thing, but as soon as you start to want to do it to make it do things outside of the things that you want, it starts to get a bit more complicated. But I think we can segue into AnyDesk at this point, because what we were doing in AnyDesk, a custom UI thing, and that was like trying to do to implement Ryan Fleury's UI theory, like his philosophy in his blog.
What's Ryan Fleury's UI theory? It sounds like
a
university course.
I think it deserves this level of recognition, to be honest, because the idea is so simple and it's so insanely powerful. You can do everything with it. He calls it the Lego block, and I've been begging him to come up with a better name for it. And he agrees, as far as I know, but it's just like there still isn't a better name for it. But his idea is that the concept of the Lego block is that you can build everything from this one smallest unit, and then you write a complex layout engine, but then you make the unit also very powerful, that it can do or render anything. And this way you can construct any UI that you can imagine out of those building blocks and still make it immediate mode. And it's just those collections of ideas that he wrote in his blog of how he implements those things. Went through them, then more or less tried to follow step by step what he was doing, and it works. It's insane. Like it's one of the best things ever, really. That idea.
Okay. We will link the blog post in the description.
Yeah, we should.
For everybody interested.
We should.
Now, you mentioned AnyDesk already. You have been working at AnyDesk, and at what point in time you got the job there in the timeline?
This had a lot to do with med school, because funny enough, in med school in Germany, the last year, I think there's like a parallel to it in the US. It's called the internship, but in the US you are an intern. I think it's a name thing, but never mind. In Germany, the last year of med school before you graduate, you do a written test, and if you pass that written exam, you get to the last year, and that last year is a 1 year of internship, where you're going every day, rotating in between internal medicine, surgery, and the third specialty that you choose, for a full year, 4 months for each one of them, and then you're going a full-time job. Basically, you're going in the morning and coming back when they go out, and you're doing it for free.
You're a cheap labor.
Cheap labor, basically. No, you definitely are cheap labor over there. They give you the shittiest tasks that nobody wants to do, and it's not like you can say no. And it's just, I think it's a rite of passage. You have to go through the meat grinder to get out and become a doctor, I guess. I can talk a whole level about a whole thing about that, but that's not relevant here. So during that part, it was a serious problem for me, because I was, like I said, working on the side. So when I usually I'd be doing like 10 to 12 work days on the side during med school to support myself, and I could no longer do this, because like, when are you going to work? You get maybe like 4 weekends, and are you really going to work all the weekends of all the year? It wasn't feasible. So I needed something where I would be able to work from home, work after hours, when I get back on the weekends, here and there, without needing to commute, without needing to do that much physical labor. So I thought, at this point, I've been programming for a few years. Maybe it's worth finding a side job, a side gig for that. Whatever money I could make, it would support me. So I wrote a Twitter post, and then Casey shared it. Thanks to Casey. And I got like a few emails, basically. So a few people approached me. One of which was AnyDesk. And I was lucky, because like the person who approached me from AnyDesk, Holger, you've met him at BSc, wonderful person. He was also a fan of Casey, followed Casey, and it's like it's the Casey network everywhere, basically. That's what I owe everything to, honestly. So he said like, yeah, it would work. Remote would also work, so I could be able to work from Berlin. They had also a Berlin office, but it was strictly a remote job, and that worked really fine because that was able to put bread on the table. So I worked for a few, I think 6 months or so, and then I picked up a Gyra ticket, and it was during that time. It was just like the biggest object-oriented thing I've ever seen that I'm thrown in the middle of. It was like layers of inheritance beyond your belief, to your heart's content. It's like the kind of thing where you really seriously need a notebook next to your keyboard where you just draw the inheritance tree so you can keep track of where everything is. Because everything, like there were like 1,700 classes and 1,700 files. That's how it works. It was that time I was tasked with a ticket, and the ticket was, like I picked the ticket basically because I was like looking through what can I do. It was like before the weekend I finished something, so I might as well start something short that I can finish before the weekend and like go.
Of course.
And like, okay.
Of course.
I looked through and a UI was one of the categories. Like, okay, UI is easy. UI is visual. UI is, you can iterate through it. You can change something and immediately see it. Should be easy. Found a ticket. There was like 5 of them. And each one of them were like, move checkbox, text box, whatever, from menu A to menu B. That's it. Really? You need that much? You need a ticket for this? What is going on?
5?
You need 5 for each one of... It can't be that hard. It took me and 2 other guys a month. Like, it was the most insane thing ever. It's retain mode. It's everything is an object. And it also suffered from like historical reasons because there was like 5 different UI implementations in it. It was such a big thing. It was such a big thing that afterwards I told Holger, come on, man, like we know the superior way here. We know the right way, and we know it's immediate mode. Although like the entire way that the program worked was very different as well, because it like was not like a constant loop running. So it was also like a challenge to think of a way to do that. But we thought, come on, maybe it's worth it to show it to somebody in this big company. Maybe somebody would care. The CEO of the company was also a developer. He's one of the founders. So like my biggest hope was like maybe we could show it to him. So on our free time, on our own time, we worked for a bit. I don't remember, 2 months or so, working on an immediate mode implementation that followed Ryan's way. That was also the time where I implemented it on Cactus because the things that I learned how to do it by implementing it in Cactus. And then we wrote something that was like the thing that they're currently something that looks like the current application, but it's in immediate mode. And then we showed it to the CEO, and he loved it. He was very thrilled. He was like, "This is cool. This is the best thing ever. We can do maybe this, that, do it." And then during that period, I was also like right around the end of my time at the last year of med school, and there was like this period right before the last final exams, like a oral exam, the scariest thing ever, because this was during that day where they tell you, like you sit there with them 4 hours. Afterwards, you go out, wait for 5 minutes, longest 5 minutes of your life. You come in, they tell you if you're a doctor or not. And it was during that time, but I had time, so I could work during that time. So it was during that period that I moved to Stuttgart. I moved from Berlin to Stuttgart. The company was very generous to pay for my accommodation to just like get me somewhere right during that period. And things just accelerated from then, because like that point was like I was on the clock because I needed to quit right after to continue to just work as a doctor. And they were like, everything was moving fast, and I convinced the CEOs that we can hire a group of people. I think it originally started as like we're going to be doing it under the development team, but then it was like, no, we do it isolated. I don't remember the exact details, but in the end, we came to the point like we need to hire people. So I posted something on the Handmade Network and then started getting emails, and then people would start to apply. And that was great period. We picked a few people. I think we started with 2. We relocated them to Stuttgart, and then we got an office. It was right next door to the CEO because it was like nice. We could just talk to him, and then we started cooking, and it was just like the funnest 3-month period of my life. Basically, we were working the whole day, doing nothing else but working because they relocated and I also relocated, and we had nothing to do in the city, so we'd be hanging out with each other the whole time. Wake up at 9, get back to bed, like go to the office, stay up until 2 a.m., go back to bed, and then that's it. There's no weekends, no free days, nothing. But during that period, we did something really beautiful. We implemented a UI application that was immediate mode, that could render anything, that could render Unicode, and that had a software renderer, a fast one, with like proper culling and whatnot. Which means that it ran on Windows XP. We had also Direct3D 9 implementation to it, Direct3D 11, OpenGL ES, so that we could run it in WebAssembly. And then we ran it on the Mac, we ran it on Android, we ran it on iOS, and naturally Windows 10. It ran everywhere, and you could hot swap between those renders. Like you press space, and then you can flip from Direct3D 11 to OpenGL. Hit another space, you're in software render mode. Like the idea was, you need your application to be so reliable that it would never crash. So if anything works wrong, you fall back until you fall back to the barest bones. Like otherwise, just kill the application. And we had like a lot of interesting discussions over then about the philosophy of when should the application crash, because it's very different between a game and like an application like AnyDesk is something that's supposed to be running all the time on your computer. It should never crash. So yeah, that was interesting. Sorry, I've been talking a lot.
3 months of
it's
like
not that long.
7 day.
Yeah.
7 day a week.
Yeah.
This was so. Can we get the details straight?
Mm-hmm.
When was your exam, the oral exam? Was it like before or after
During.
this point?
I flew to Berlin to do the exam and I came back.
During your like 3-month high on immediate mode GUI phase.
Yes.
Wow.
It was.
You didn't study for it.
I studied. Of course I studied.
When?
During that time. Like, look, the heavy stint was, I think, I got my exam end of November. December, January. It was really during it, actually. Yeah, it was during it. I studied, man. I don't know. It was during the time. I did not study intensively because I think at that point you either know the shit that you know or you don't. Because it's not like you've had 6 years to do this. It's either stuck or you're screwed.
Did you pass?
I passed, yes.
Congrats.
I passed.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Was Taha one of the people that joined that time?
Taha was one of the people that joined, but he joined like I think a few days right after I left. So I was involved in hiring him, but then did not get the chance to work with him, which is really sad. But he was one of the guys who took off with the code base after I left.
Okay.
And I regret it. Like it's not like I could have done something else, but I really wish that I did not leave that team during that period. But I had to because of visa reasons.
Okay, so you passed the exam. You also do, in the meantime, the 3-month high energy, high work period. And then, because of visa reasons, you need to quit AnyDesk.
Yeah, because it's the case where you don't get a work visa for a thing unless the thing that you're getting is of the same topic as the thing that you studied. I mean, it makes sense. Wow. So that, like, I mean, you studied to become a doctor, now you want to be a programmer. What is going on? They won't authorize that.
Okay, so your visa expired.
So my visa expired. Well, it's changed, and I mean, it moved to the blue card thing or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you needed to leave Germany?
No. I just needed to leave AnyDesk and then find a job in Germany that is medicine. That's all.
Okay.
So I had that. I had that already lined up. I was like, I researched this whether it's even possible, and it's just way too complicated. You can't just really do it unless you lie and say like what I'm doing at AnyDesk is medical. So I had to move until like I become a citizen, and I am right now. And then I can do whatever I want if I want to do so. But I had to do it, and I had to leave the team during that period. So I had something lined up. I was looking for jobs, and I found a job in surgery. So I got that lined up first.
So after this like high intense programming work,
Yeah.
you go back to the actual medical work, and
Yeah.
now you're a surgeon. And that also like this is from all my friends, from what I know, being a surgeon, especially the one that is like young and by older surgeons, is treating not the nicest
Yeah,
way.
it's not the best.
It's also intense, and
Very intense,
the hours are long, and the work is hard. So you now switch from programmer to surgeon work.
Yeah.
How do you like? How are you holding up at this point?
At this
You like
point,
it?
I've been doing this for 2 years, and I'm tired. I have to admit, I'm tired. It's the medicine part of it is great. Everything else is the worst. So like being in the OR is the best thing ever. It's very much fun. It's great. All of your senses, your entire being is focused on doing one task, and it's task that you manipulate and work with your senses. So it's like it's you feel alive while doing it, and it's a great thing. It's very technical. It's very detailed, and it requires technical prowess. It's a nice one. Working with patients, like figuring out diseases, diagnostics, therapy, and then finding your results. Especially the nice thing about surgery is like you see your results immediately after surgery. You don't have to wait months for it. Either it worked or it didn't. That's all is very rewarding, but the system around it is the worst. It's very toxic. It's based and built around maximizing profit, so it abuses the people who are working there, both the doctors and the nurses, especially the nurses. And it's just it's not a nice place to be. And then you sign up a work contract for like 40 hours a week, and then you end up working 80, and half of those are not paid. So it's not great, if that makes sense. So I'm tired.
You've been doing this for 2 years now?
Around like almost 2 years. I mean, short, a few months short. Around 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. We need to also go back in
Yes.
time to do a story of Rebound Express, your another game that we kind of skip because you're doing
Kinda
so
skip,
many
yeah.
things at the same time that it's hard to keep track of. So, okay.
Rebound Express is just
Yeah.
yeah. Go on. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Because we got to the like present point almost,
Yeah.
and Rebound Express happened somewhere recently. In 2025 was released, right, in June.
Yes, that's when it came to Steam, but it was done in the end of 2024 because it was just it's a small jam project because between a group of friends we're doing like this shipping jam where people would just like focus on shipping something, and so it was nice because it was like a 1 week stint where you have to ship something, and it was during that time where I tried something else where I tried to okay, for this one I'm going to use a pre-made library and a pre-made engine. So I tried to do it. I did it in Raylib and Box2D. And then I used a lot of pre-made assets from a website. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like all of the things you see is pre-made assets. So it's like this the proper just do the jam and try to come up with something that is playable, just focus on making the gameplay. So that was really interesting because your entire priority system is different. And the way you write code becomes different. The way you deal with issues becomes different. It's like crunch mode. But yeah, done it in a week. And then I put it on itch, but then I released it on Steam a year after I set it up. Because Steam is a headache. You have to pay $100 to set it up. And
Go through the contact with IRS from US to actually get the
yeah.
proper form, fill it out, wait for them to approve this. In the case of you making millions, so that like everybody is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna make anything out of this. So it was It was all, and I lost that shipping jam because the whole point was like the guy who sells the most copies, or not the most, the guy who makes the most gross revenue wins, and I did not do that. I think it was
Who
Charlie.
participated? Who participated?
Um, Brandon was there. Bill Hall, Ginger Bill was there. He made like a little Milton-esque kind of thing, like a Milton tool, drawing tool. He finished it as well and he shipped it. And um, Sam and Sander also did like and Philip. They like three of them together made like a wheelie bouncy ball thing. I'm so bad with names. Bill's thing was called Striga, that's true. And then wheelie bouncy thing. It was a 2-player network game where you just play volleyball.
Oh, I've seen that.
You've seen that, right? Like
yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's really nice. And then Charlie made a Demon Knights kind of thing was called. I don't know. It was like a
Oh, Demon Knives.
Demon Knives, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. He made the most. He's the guy who won that thing, and it killed whatever he did. Charlie is full of surprises. He does really cool
Charlie's
things.
great.
Charlie
is also very like hidden.
Exactly. So like he does
know a lot about Charlie.
He's like Batman. He comes in, kicks everybody's ass, and then he disappears. So that's Charlie. So it was fun just like to be in that environment. I think I would love to do it again with the guys every next time. Because like you focus on the different kind of skill set because you're so sucked into like my time is not on a schedule here. I can spend a whole month figuring out a problem and then throw all that code away. No, in this case, like you're crunched. You have to ship, and it's a different skill set.
Yeah. So you've done Rebound Express as in a week.
Yeah. That's how
we talked about like you shipping game fast when it was 4 months and then it's like another game in a week.
Well, that game I also did the art, I also wrote the engine, I also did those things. So like that's why it was slow compared to those two.
you know like most people in a game jam they would pick up Godot or Unity and
that's what I did.
And then it's like you're like, oh, I picked up bugs to this. Like, okay, that's just physics, you know.
But that's what
other
I did.
Stuff like rendering to do yourself. Like that's not the.
That's what I did though. Like Raylib is relatively easy. I mean that's what I encourage people in the end because like if you're gonna spend unit time making things in Unity and Godot, I really doubt. I mean. Like I cannot be an authority on this because I never used them. But like, is it really that much more work to just like use Raylib or maybe spin off your own thing? Because I mean, you figure this out also once and then you can reuse your code. And in the end, you're fighting with Unity anyway. All of those games that grew require engine devs in the end because they have to change the way Unity and Unreal works in order to make the thing look like the way they want it. So we're coming back to the same level of complexity anyway, you know.
Okay, let me sum up. AV Racer.
Yeah.
A car game.
Yes, sir.
Cactus image viewer that started as you wanting to look at your 32 by 32 pixel art and you
Which was too much.
couldn't find a program to do it that wouldn't switch the texture mode from linear. And then Rebound Express, a game you made in a week.
Yeah.
In meantime, AnyDesk, immediate mode, GUI style, using the Ryan Fleury philosophy course on how to make UI.
Yeah. The Lego
which
block.
Also Lego blog, the title. And is this the project that is turned into Arc UI?
Yeah.
Like Arc? Okay.
That's Arc. I mean, I have not been, because I was not at the company since then, I have not been following the code of what they did. They also went through a bunch of iterations. I think right now it's like a pure C library, which I'm a huge fan of that fact. Because you know that this has like imposes a level of simplicity to things. And I think like they've managed to strip it down to this is a layouting library that will tell you what to render, rather than like this is the whole application with the render improved, because that solves the multi-platform problem, so that you can just use the UI library as a UI library. And it also unlocks the power of your rendering in the end, because you just take control of that. So whatever they did today is really good. I mean, Taha's tweets, when there's a recent one where he's showcasing like 3 different themes of how things work, and they're vastly different, and that's very interesting regarding that. So yeah, that's what art became. Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you look back on your medicine journey, your programming journey, one would think that you would like to connect those two and then kind of find a place in a medtech world where you kind of can use the medicine aspect that you know and devoted a lot of time into, and also the technology aspect. What are your thoughts on that?
I would like to do that, especially after working those like last 2 years in medicine. You sort of see just how insanely bad medical software is. And I'm talking, you have to wait for like 20 seconds to 30 seconds for a list of 30 people to load. You have to wait for 5 seconds when you double click on one of them for the thing to load. You sometimes drag something, and while dragging, so your entire system freezes, including the OS. This is insane. Today we have programs that can like render photorealism at 140 frames a second, and we can't get a list of text right. This is insane to me. So it's like I'm very acutely aware of how badly these things are made. I sort of can imagine why they are the way they are, and I also know how I would do it. I probably would be able to make something that is good, and especially since now I know what kind of things that I as a doctor would need to have. So it's like it's a nice combination to know those things. So eventually, at some point, I would like to be able to make that program, to make something that for hospital, like one good example, just to make hospital systems. But those things are very difficult to crack because monopolies are running the scene currently. They're very expensive to license. So you need a lot of money and good networking to even break in, to have a chance.
You're talking now about like hospital software, like administrative software for the hospital.
Not necessarily, yeah, administrative software, but that also like the kind of software that the doctors and the nurses are using
in the OR or something.
In everywhere at the hospital. So like you have a patient that you want to check their charts, you want to write info of what happened today, you want to write a report, you want to look at their images, look at their lab work, apply for something. Like you need the system for that because we're no longer using paper, but we're less efficient than paper. And I'm not kidding. We are.
Okay. So hospital management
is an idea.
Systems.
Is an idea in the end. I mean, I'd like to see a connection between the two. Because like there are so many things that are bad. The theme is going to be performance because nobody cares about performance anymore. Nobody does.
There are also companies that do products that then sell to hospitals that are kind of standalone for a very particular thing. So
that's true.
That's also
those usually are better.
Yeah.
Funny enough, like no, those usually are, but it depends. The ones that, for example, come and ship with hardware usually are okay. For radio imaging or for Da Vinci or whatever, like those things are usually okay. But of course, there are outliers. You know what I mean? Like it depends on what things I used as well. Like maybe the things I used were particularly bad, but it's not like I've seen a few hospitals back in Germany where I worked, and I haven't seen a good system yet. And yeah.
Okay. Would you consider doing this or not really? Like hospital management might be tough, like hospital side of things, but more like a startup or a small company doing stuff that would sell to hospitals?
I wouldn't mind. No, I would do it if the chance presents itself. It's not something that I can do right now because of the reasons I mentioned. But down the line, probably, yeah.
Okay. You also have done an incredible project that we didn't discuss yet. 3D car simulation.
Oh, yeah. Almost forgot about it.
So, first of all,
yeah,
you need to say where in the timeline this fits. When did you spend most of the time? And then paint a picture of the project for everybody.
This is definitely during being a surgeon, like after leaving AnyDesk. Because here's the thing. I was visiting AnyDesk afterwards. I was visiting the team, just like a social visit. And it was that time when I first managed to hang out with Taha. And Taha was showing me his 3D engine game. And I'm like, yeah, okay. At this point, this is very motivating. I should just, when I get back home, I should sit down and then finally write that 3D engine. So he motivated me to, so thank you, Taha. He motivated me to get back home and do it. And it was during work. It was during doing surgery and like doing residency. So like in my free time after work and free days and so on, I started that. And that was also complete research project because like I'm doing rendering from scratch in 3D. Spent like I don't know how many weeks just figuring out the math and the matrices and the right signs of things just to appear on the screen. That's his own thing. And then, of course, used a lot of the existing code on the platform side of things. And then I think we've already started something that loads GLTF models with Said before I rewrote it because that one was way too focused on getting animations right. Because we were trying to do skin animations and whatnot. This one I just wanted to get a textured model. So I wrote something that also does the texturing correctly, loads textures and a texture pipeline. It was like growing with time. And it's one of the things I'm mostly proud of currently because of the nice way the D3D11 renderer is growing with the project. Like things are falling into place in a nice way, in a nice patterns at least, of how to set up the renderer, set up the textures, how to organize the draw calls, how to batch them, and so on. And it was during that period I was like considering whether I would be making something like an FPS with that engine. But that was like, for an FPS, I would have to go nose deep into skinning and like character animation. Because that's what you do. And I just did not want to do that because that was just like a headache of animation math. And I was really thirsty to get back into making a car game that actually does the car physics correctly because I was feeling guilty from making AV Racer that bad. So, bless you. So I thought like, okay, might as well just do the car in the end. And that was where we are at now. Spent a few months writing car physics, figuring that out. It's an insane journey.
Most of it, or maybe some of it, is in your talk from BSc. So everybody who is interested in the actual hardcore details, because the talk is quite hardcore, because you dive deep into this stuff, the physics of how tires work in the car and how everything works in the car. So I would highly recommend watching the talk from Wassim from BSc 2025. But you've done like proper literature review, like learn the stuff.
I don't know if that's the proper literature review. I don't come at me if you're a researcher, but I had to look at how people do it. It's difficult because there is no right way that you can find somebody to point you like this is how this is the way that games do it everywhere. Everybody has done it differently. It's crazy. And there are patterns, there are things that are common, that is a common approaches many games take. But there are things that like everybody does entirely differently because everybody designs their gameplay differently, and not everybody's making the same thing. And then also, not everybody has their source code online, so you're left following, like watching talks from GDC or reading a few articles here and there, or people talking about Reddit, half of them talking right out of their asses, and then finding that odd book that is actually good, and then you stick to that book until you see that, okay, that book references this image from somewhere, and then you read that book reference an older book from the 50s that was made like for motorcycle tires post-war. Like, it's just that's where we got. And then the hardest part was accepting that you don't know, you can't know. Yeah, just accepting that I can't, with the current access that I have right now, know exactly the right solution. Maybe if I search long enough, I'd be able to find. And I definitely got further after the talk, because people would start to send me emails like, hey, you should join this Discord server. We talk about this specific problem. Hey, check out this book. Hey, check out this video. And that has been insanely helpful.
Are there Discord servers for people that are interested in how tire changes, like vertically and horizontally when
Yes.
you're
Yes.
going? Like
There's
100 kilometers?
a Discord server called Vehicle Physics, and I was so thrilled to be invited to that, because like
Nice.
that's just a bunch of people trying to figure that out, and
Okay.
it's interesting to see how everybody does that.
Okay. So at what stage is the project now?
It's at the stage where the physics is stable, but in order to tune it well, I need to start to design gameplay. So I need to put the car in scenarios where I'm actually driving it in order to get a good feel of what it feels like driving, so that I can tune it well. I moved away from, because during this project I also wrote my own collision detection code, like trying to copy somebody else's implementation of it. I did not figure it out. Like, I just say that out of the window, because that's a big thing to figure out. But it's still like I understood the rudimentary parts that I did, but it didn't have like all the performant multi-threading. It didn't have all the complex collision detection, mesh against mesh, convex hulls and whatnot. None of the complex algorithms that did that. So in the end, I thought, okay, I can't be juggling so many things at the same time that I'm doing for the first time. So I dropped that and then moved to Jolt. I implemented Jolt. Spent like a whole week trying to get that running, because Jolt is a C++ mess. It's
The disgust on your face. Ugh.
man, it was. Let me tell you about that. So Jolt, after a lot of research, everybody basically that does a good commercial level physics engine, like PhysX, Jolt, and another one that I can't remember. Each one, Havoc, yeah. So like each one of those, they have, they're all C++. They're all object oriented. They're all heavy on the inheritance. And then, bless their hearts, I have nothing against them, but apparently Jolt is like the simplest, flattest one of them. Like, okay, I'll just take the simplest, flattest one. And then I downloaded that. It was like it's just I needed C++ 17 in order to even compile it, because it just needed so many features, and looked at the example code, and I'm like, yeah, no, I need to write a wrapper around this. So I started writing one, but then I found out that somebody else wrote a C wrapper for it. So now I use the C wrapper for Jolt in my C++ project, so that I just have functions and structs. That's all I want. Just give me functions and structs. I firmly believe with functions and structs, you can put a man on the moon. That's all you need. And so I wrote the API on top of the C wrapper on top of Jolt. But now I have like a proper collision detections that I don't have to worry about. And I could focus on making the car model robust. So now I'm currently at the stage of trying to work on asset streaming, generating, like working on proper levels, a large map, and then getting that in the game, and then testing the car there. That
Is it more a game project or a simulation project? What do you want to do? So the idea is to turn it into a proper game and release it at some point.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, currently now at this stage, the plan is to release this game, to have like a proper. I'm planning to make it a street racing game. So
Okay.
and everything that entails, because that's what I enjoyed a lot when I was a kid, and I wanted to. It's a personal milestone in the end. Whether it's become something successful or not, I don't know. It's an art research project that I learned from, but I want to make it a game in the end.
What are you gonna call it?
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. It's like my project for it and disk is called 3dim because the word 3D for a folder name is already taken. So it's like 3D DIM.
Like dimensional.
3-dimensional. That's like this is a 3-dimensional
Okay.
project. I don't know what it's going to be.
I would encourage you to think of a better name when you release it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be
Probably.
3D.
By the way, now it's gonna sound silly, but what AV stands for in AV Racer?
I think like those, when you have those old console games and you plug into the TV, you plug them into the AV port, like the little things that you plug the sound and the
Okay.
color and whatnot. And I was going for that in the shader to make like a post-processing effects of the CRT TV and whatnot.
Okay.
So like that's what I was going for. That's what AV means.
Okay.
Audio video. That's it.
So now, if we're gonna, there's no port to make, like, you can't name your game like HDMI Racer now. It's gonna be silly.
No, I don't think that's an option. HDMI racer, 4K racer, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Can you tell me, like, when you're switching between your surgeon mindset to your programming mindset and then back, do you find this helpful? Like, do you see some sort of parallels between the two types of work? You might be like one of the only people that coexist in those realms. So a lot of discoveries were made from people that were really good in some area and they moved to a different area and they just like they reused their knowledge in the new setting and applied. For example, the algorithms they knew and they created something that was known in the spectrum but not there. Do you see something like that, like some sort of parallels or things that you like didn't expect to find?
There aren't that many, unfortunately. I mean, programming in general is a good tool that trains your brain for problem solving, I guess. So it gets you the acuity with you dealing with computers and you become like an IT above level, above average kind of thing. But that's not like, I don't think that's what you mean. It's more like the mentality of using things, not much. Although working medicine really does treat you to work with stress. Like you're trained to work under stress. So like you don't break down when stress happens. You can be efficient. You learn to be efficient. You learn to maximize the amount of things that you accomplish in a short amount of time, like multitasking. So it trains those kinds of skills. Crunch, basically. You become a good crunching employee, which is not good, but it still allows you to juggle a few things on the side. So actually, maybe medicine actually makes it easier to do multiple things at the same time, if that makes sense.
Okay. This might be useful in general in programming. But it's not like the stress level handling might be useful also in any company as well. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Stress management, anxiety
management. It's good general in life, to be honest, because then when an actual crisis happens to you on a personal level, your first instinct is to think pragmatically, which is good. You try to, you don't get emotional. Get emotional later, but not now. You press it down, you push it down.
Yeah. What are you up to now then?
Well, recently something happened that changed my life, and I would say that's BSc. I think you can at Better Software Conference. Yes, sorry. And I think as a person who was there as well, you would agree with me that this is one of the most special things ever.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
It was really incredible. Awesome. it was for me personally the first time I was in a place where I felt like I belonged. A group of people where I felt I belong to this group and I don't feel like a stranger. And it's crazy because almost all of those people I met for the first time, and I was only hanging out with them for a week. So just that whole event reminded me of the things I feel most comfortable doing, of the things that I naturally lean into doing the whole time. So that's programming. I found out like this is it. Programming is the passion in the end. And so right now I'm working on a lateral move where at least not I mean, I don't plan it to be permanent, hopefully not, but I'm moving away from medicine for a bit. Where I'd like to explore that to see what it's like just doing that full time programming and see where that goes. Maybe that will allow me to also focus on the personal projects, so give it proper time, and then maybe that will become a thing because I'd like to ship games in the end, and then see what happens. So that's what I'm doing right now, working on it.
All right. Where can people follow your work? Where can people find you?
Wassimulator.com is my website. You can see my things over there. Mostly if you're going to be following the stuff that I work on, I'll be on Twitter or X at Wassimulator. It's the same word everywhere. You can also send me an email at wassimulator@gmail.com. Just Google Wassimulator and you'll find me.
Where's the nickname coming from, by the way?
It's a very stupid nickname that stuck. I think
but it's like Terminator kind of thing.
It's kind of that. I think like I remember coming up with it when I was a kid, when I was watching like Markiplier, and I was like, oh, Markiplier came up with a name where he put Mark and then another word next to it, and like I want to come up with something like it. I did not plan to be someone who's working on simulators, that I'm also a simulator, but it just that's it. So it was a nice unique brand, I guess. It's good for SEO.
Nice. Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
When you would like to suggest other people starting up programming, what would you suggest? Because you got into this with the help of Saeed with a very special route, but you don't regret it. So what would you say?
Do not. Yeah.
What would you say for other people?
I don't think you should spend too much time reading books and watching videos. These are good. They usually give you a general idea. It's good to learn the theory. But passive learning is not the right way to do this when it comes to programming. This is an engineering field. You spend time by solving problems, and it's the cheapest field to spend time solving problems with because mistakes are cheap. So this is like the right way to learn is to just sit down behind a computer and start coding, and then writing everything yourself. Just trying to understand every step what is happening. So starting with something low level, maybe I'm not many people would agree with me. I really recommend starting with something low level. Like, yes, start with C. Learn pointers from the beginning, because you start to think the way the computer thinks, and then you build the abstractions that you learn on top of that, so that your reference point is always what the computer is doing, and everything is much easier to click that way instead of starting from the abstraction and trying to force that into the other way around, which is reality. So I recommend that. And of course, that only works if you have people to ask. Currently, we have a thing called ChatGPT, which is a search engine that you can ask whatever you think is a stupid question at for anything that you can't Google. And on the other hand, there are like communities like the Handmade Network, for example, that have a public Discord server where it really is a place where just it welcomes people coming in, beginners, or ask questions. And I don't think I've seen anyone being told off that this is a stupid question in that place, because like they welcome people asking for what things mean. So if you really need the help, you can find it. And currently we also have AI that can walk you through basic concepts, help you through syntax issues. And we have the tools to just like actively writing code is my suggestion. Start with something small, start with Tetris, and then build on top of that.
Perfect. Wassim, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
an awesome conversation.
It was
Thanks.
really fun. Thank you very much.